all right. Let's get it. How's everyone doing today? We are here. My name is Jeff Berman. Welcome to the Berman Hour. My guest today is Sal. Actually, don't know how to pronounce his last name. Medrano, from Boston, Massachusetts. So let's get him in here. Sal, I'm gonna find you in one. Waiting for Sal. Waiting for Sal. Hey, look, it's the Pope down in South Florida. Endless Fight Booking. How you doing, man? Well, while we're waiting for Sal, thank you all for tuning into the Berman Hour. My name is Jeff Berman. I'm coming to you live from my apartment in Studio City, California, where it's currently 88 degrees in my actual apartment. It's been fun to do this every day so far. The purpose of this is to reconnect with people in my life, reconnect with fellow artists, reconnect with people that I know that are teachers and journalists and nurses, and to try to speak to somebody different every day for the purpose of connecting and learning about how they're coping during the quarantine and shelter in place, but also to see what keeps them creative, what keeps them up, what keeps them going. I'm going to try to reconnect here with Sal. There we are. All right, let's see. We're waiting for Sal one more time.
What's up?
What's up? There he is. Is this nice enough for you?
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. All right. I gotta turn you up a little bit, and I'm gonna tilt this back a little bit so that I'm not super close. How you doing, man?
Chilling, man. I feel somewhat productive every day, which is I guess what you have to do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. For those that are unaware, you do a thing called the Biz, the
Yeah,
BIZ,
the
hashtag the
biz.
Biz,
Yeah.
which I'd be remiss if I didn't give you at least a little bit of credit for what I'm doing now with the Berman Hour. I'm guessing that we probably had some of the same goals in mind, but I'm curious to hear from you. My goal was to try to fall asleep because I was awake and couldn't fall asleep and was trying to think of ideas to how to be
Sure.
creative when I don't feel like writing songs. But
Yeah.
also I wanted a unique way to kind of talk to people that are either in my life or in my periphery that are doing interesting, creative, maybe even dangerous things, or things that need to be done during the quarantine and during the pandemic. So why did you start the Biz?
Um, I it kind of started because it was to give you a little background. So like I usually don't tell people this, but like I went to music school and graduated with like a degree in music business, which means nothing. Like if I were to do it over again, I really would like the one regret I have in my life is that I went to college. Like I would have much rather not gone to college.
Where'd you go? Did you go to Berkeley?
I did, yeah.
Yes.
And I graduated, and that's so rare that someone would ever graduate from that school.
Oh, so the purpose of going is to go but not graduate? That's like uncool if you graduate?
Everyone just drops out. Everyone like after a
Yeah.
semester is like, find something else to do and just drops out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely was already working for bands and touring with bands and stuff. But that's the thing is that like I had booked my own shows. I had, gone on the road with bands and like kind of learned everything from there. And like Berkeley's way of teaching was always like, you've made it, so here's all the things you should know. When you're like, wait, there's like so much before that. There's like so much, like most of
Yeah.
us don't get to this point where there's like all these like big people involved. So it's like one of those things where it's like I'd always hear about like kids like in Boston, like when going to college, like even just like Rebuilder fans that were like, I really hope to go to music school and learn about the business. And I was just like, yeah, like I don't know if that's where you would learn about the business, to be honest. And
You kind of just need to get in and do it.
kind of, and that's the thing was that like, I like doing stupid shit on Instagram because it keeps me entertained. And in working at venues and just like, doing merch jobs, I would see these things all the time that would just annoy me or that I thought was just so humorous that this is like real life, how this business works.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I'm gonna start making like little segments, just and I just did hashtag the biz and was just like, this is the biz, and like people, I would post it, and I would find that a lot of people would message me and be like, I love the biz bit, but it's crazy. They're like, we know you're being like super sarcastic, but I'm actually learning stuff from it,
Yeah, that's
which
awesome.
was really funny because like I guess that was kind of like always my intent, but I didn't know if people would pick up on it. I didn't know if people would like actually get something out of it. But I mean, I have like people who've reached out and been like, I actually have like a real business question. Like, how would you deal with this situation? And I'm like, I think that's cool that people would approach me and think that I'm knowledgeable in this area just kind of because I've kind of been putting it out there.
Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. I think you and I said this when we met, I think we have a lot more similarities than maybe we realized that we did. You strike me as kind of like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but kind of a jack of all
Sure.
trades, master of none type of thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
where
absolutely.
like you have a lot of different unique experience in the music industry and being cut from the punk rock cloth, so to speak. You have a good DNA of do it yourself ethos, and you kind of have such a unique amount of experience that like it wouldn't necessarily make sense on a resume, but for the people that you've worked for, like they can vouch for you. Would that be kind of a fair assessment?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those weird things because like outside of that, it's like hard to measure. Like I haven't I haven't like applied for like a real job in like years, because like
It
I
sucks. Let
I
me
I
tell you,
have all
don't get doing it. It sucks.
right,
Trust me.
right. And that's the thing is that I've had real jobs before like I kind of started doing all of this and hated it. And like now I hustle all these different ways so that I can still have a band and go on tour and do all the things I want to do. So recently I saw a job come up in Boston. This was like probably like 2 or 3 months ago for Spotify, where they were looking for like somebody in their Boston office to
I know
do.
multiple people who applied for that.
Yeah, it was like an artist relations side of it
And
where
now
like you were
another.
dealing
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
back end of it. So it was one of those things where I was like, I really don't want a real job, but like this seems interesting enough that like I would kind of be into it. I was like, I don't even know if I want to go to an office every day. Maybe I'll just apply for the hell of it. And I was like, man, I haven't had to like submit a resume for anything in so long. But like, how do I submit a resume? Like I don't know what to put on there besides like I've been a merch seller at these places and for these people, and I
yeah.
don't know how that's measured in this in real life, you
I
know?
think I think it just goes back to sometimes it's not how good you are; it's who you know. And that's not to say that you wouldn't kill it at that job in Spotify, um, but maybe on paper it wouldn't look like you would.
Yeah, I
Or
got denied super fast.
yeah, on paper it's like. But that's something people that I know that work in tech. That's something that comes up a lot. Where like they're my friends and they're cool, and I think like, would you get hired today in that company with the culture
Right,
that it has developed? Um,
right.
Whereas like when all those companies started, it was just people like you and I who were hustling and trying to do different things. But
Totally.
now it's got a corporate structure or it's got shareholders or whatever else they got to fucking deal with.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah. What are the
Eh,
what are some of the bands that you've done merch for?
the biggest ones I would say that like I guess I constantly do is the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones and Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah.
But I'm a local seller for a lot of the venues here, so like a lot of those I just show up and I don't really know who it is. And
Yeah.
like I just don't even write it down of who it is in my calendar anymore because it's just some of those things like I'm like I don't think I really care because a lot of them I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
know. It doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
I did merch for Charlie XX for one show and it was insane, but I didn't know who Charlie XX was. And then like I show up and it's like a super young audience. The show's way sold out And those are the shows that I actually start learning a lot about. Like, I'm very knowledgeable about merch to begin with, but like, I did merch for Halsey for a show there and merch for Billie Eilish before, because my friend is Billie Eilish's merch manager. And when I do those, it's like seeing the youth of like music fans and how what they gravitate towards in merch and how they act versus a punk rock audience. It's
Sure.
so different, and it's so I that's one of the reasons I love doing it, because I can see, you know, the new trends and things I didn't notice before, you know, where like we had so many 2X t-shirts and no smalls. And I was like, I think I said something, I was like, we only have like, I think I was like, we had like 3 smalls. I was like, we're gonna run out of these smalls like really fast. Like, what are we gonna do? And they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. And I was like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is all young girls here. And they're like, they buy like XL and 2X.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? You know?
It's so funny you mentioned that. Is the person that you know, is her name Ariel or Ariel?
Ariel, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I worked for her as well, also
Hmm.
for Billie Eilish and
Nice.
Phineas. Uh, it was kind of her last hurrah as a club venue artist. She did some
Right.
shows in LA that were still like 2,000 cap or whatever, but
Yeah.
it was before the obvious graduation
Right.
to arena life. But yeah, I felt that because, and no disrespect to her, because I'm not really interested in her music or the
Right.
show, I was able to actually really focus and try to learn about how she marketed, what her merch entailed, what the design was, if it was simplistic, if it was complicated, if it was neon, if it was black, if it was $35 or if it was $30. And I really, I wish I would have gotten to pick Ariel's brain a little bit more about those decisions, if they were even hers to make. But
Right.
I'm sure you experienced too. You're just so fucking busy with people buying merch the whole time that, you know, I mean, the volume that she does is just insane.
Totally. But
Yeah.
that's like one of the things where, I find even now with like some of my friends, like, or even in Boston's, where they're like, why don't you carry like women's t-shirts? And you're like, well, actually, a very particular type of person actually buys women's t-shirts. It seems like
Yeah.
older women want a nice stretchy t-shirt where you're like, if you have young fans, they actually don't want a women's t-shirt. They actually want like an XL men they can cut up, or they just want it to be baggy.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting how all these trends happen,
Sure.
from where, even things where like, I get people saying all the time, they're like, you know, Gildan is the worst T-shirt. They're like, oh, is that on Gildan? Because I don't want it. And you're like,
If it's not soft style, I'm not doing it.
right. But the thing is, like, Gildan has like over fucking 50 SKUs.
Yeah.
It's like they have top quality T-shirts. It's the matter of fact that they have such a basic quality T-shirt that a lot of bands are like, well, we can't afford anything, so let's go with the cheapest one.
Yeah,
It's
it
the fact that they
feels like
have
opening
that
a pizza
one.
box or something. You're just like walking
Exactly.
around in a square thing.
But then I
Tell
see
me,
I see guys that hate wearing soft style T-shirts. Like a lot
yeah,
of like big guys, like at Dropkick shows, like when I sell merch for them, they will literally be like, I don't want a shirt that's gonna like deteriorate in the wash. Like they want the big boxy scratchy T-shirt.
yeah, yeah. Tell me about TikTok because I feel like if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even know what the fuck it is. I'm at that generational divide where I don't get it and I didn't get into it. So, but you do it almost daily, and you're very good at it. So, how did that come about, and what's your deal with it?
I mean, it's same as you do. Like it's something that I knew nothing about at all. And when there's things that I see that are starting to kind of become popular and it's not made for me, I feel like I need to learn about it. And it's one of those things like, do I like I feel like I'm trying to learn about it because like I don't want to miss out on something that like might be viable to like my business
Yeah,
or something that I'm doing. Like I don't want to jump into TikTok when it's now it's like, well, there's 700 bands on thousands of bands on TikTok now, and now the market's saturated. So if I
yeah,
can kind of like jump in and learn about something early on, even if it's not for me, even if it's something that I'm just like, okay, this reassures that it's not for me, then I'll dive in. So with TikTok, I didn't really know much about it. I downloaded it and then kind of like didn't do anything with it, but was just kind of like scrolling through to see what this whole thing is about, and kind of realized I was like, okay, these are short videos. It's kind of like the new Vine, but young
Mhm.
kids are really super into this. And I found it very interesting that like the app was called Musically and it was made as like a lip syncing app instead of a social media type app.
Right.
And the audience kind of depicted what they wanted it to be, that the company had to shift to what it was.
Yeah.
Because as I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing these, kids doing pranks on their parents all day. And I was like, this is hilarious, or like boyfriends and girlfriends doing pranks on each other, or just some kid who's like, I'm learning how to play guitar. I'm not very good. Watch me not be very good learning how to play guitar. And there's tons of people liking it, and
Yeah.
it's just coming through. So in that, obviously one of the things I saw was that there was a lot of TikTok dances, like that's like the big thing is there's people doing dances on there. And I don't consider myself somebody who could dance
You got
really.
rhythm, man. You're good.
Maybe that comes from playing drums, but like uh I like I it was when the weekend song Blinding Light came out. That song hit big on TikTok. There was just
Yeah.
this, and it's weird because you find these artists and you hear these songs and you're only hearing like 15 seconds of it, and like you're kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like I'd never really listened to The Weeknd before, but the song came out and was like this loop, and I saw these dances people were doing, and I was like, I think I could do that. Like I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I can, but I think I can.
That's
So
awesome, man. That's so
I went
cool.
and put on a velour outfit that I had and did the dance and posted it. And it's really interesting because that one video got up to 21,600 views.
Damn.
Like it over the course of like 3 weeks. And then I was, people thought it was funny. The comments were hilarious because like the view that everyone is seeing is pretty much like this view, but
Yeah.
you can see like the full selfie poster in the back
Yeah.
too. So there was a lot that like people were watching and being like people would be like, are we all just going to ignore the poster in the back? Like what the fuck is going on? Um, People were just like, where'd you get that velour suit? This is amazing. And like people just thought it was really funny, and I'm seeing all these comments on it, and I obviously thought it was funny. So then
Right.
some other dances came out, and I would try those, like attempt, and like that's the thing is that like it wasn't like a 10-minute like learning process. Like I'm learning this dance for an hour, like slowing it down, trying to figure out what the fuck people are doing for a bit. Like it's
Yeah.
like so
Yeah.
much work for a bit. But um I did some other ones and they would get like 1,000 views or like 2,000,
That's
sometimes
crazy.
only a couple hundred. And then I would do the blinding light one again with a different jumpsuit, and that would get like 10,000. And none of the videos I've done has ever gotten back up to the 21,000 as that first
Yeah.
video. But it seems like I start getting like they keep pushing it out, and so the numbers grow and grow a little bit more, but nothing does as well unless I do the blinding light one again with
Right.
a different outfit.
Yeah, that's a big
So
song. I mean, that's a big song. It was the WrestleMania song, oddly enough, and then it went to number one because of TikTok and because of that, which was just strange, strange.
it's
Um,
strange. You want to hear something extremely strange off of TikTok?
sure.
So I had around 170 followers, and it's for me it's a clean platform, where like Instagram, it's people that like my band, it's people that like the biz, it's my friends, it's my family, it's everyone that knows who I am. TikTok, nobody knows who I am
Right.
at all. So like people that are like liking it and following me there are completely organic because they have no idea what I do or who I am. So I had like 170, and I was like, this is pretty good. I've been on here for like month or so, 170. It's like not bad. And I don't have notifications on, so my phone doesn't just blow up. Like I basically just like when I open it, I see any activity.
Yeah.
So one day I log in and I see there is a lot of activity to the point where I'm like, something is happening. I don't know what is happening, but something is happening. And I see that someone has made a react video with me. What a react video is when you're watching a video, you can hit the react button and then you can film yourself while the video plays in the corner and you basically film your reaction to it to
Sure.
post. Some guy who has around 250,000 followers does a react video with me, and it's this like southern dude with like an American flag bandana, and he's like,
Get her done.
yeah, pretty much. And he's like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's got 170 followers and he's funny as shit. Let's blow him up. And all his followers start coming over and following me. So within 2 days, I went from 170 to 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
But I noticed that every single one of the icons coming through were all like Confederate flags. We're all like Blue Lives Matter people, like huge right wing. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I have 1,000 right wing followers on my TikTok who I'm like, I should be the last person that they want to follow. But for some reason, they're following me and they comment on my stuff often and think it's really funny. And it's like, it's very, very strange. Like, I don't even really know how to handle like this situation. I kind of just keep doing like I'm not political on my page, so I guess that's good.
Just less clothing. I think that'd be the answer. Just
I think so. But that's TikTok is very anti that.
Yeah. Well, you can go shirtless, right?
No, I feel
Uh-oh. Did we lose you?
Sorry, I got a phone call. All right. I've done a video before where I've been shirtless, and whenever I've done it, it's almost like their algorithm picks it up immediately that there's like nipples being shown, because all of a sudden out of nowhere my video will go up, and like I'm used to seeing like, okay, within an hour or so, a couple hundred, and all of a sudden the views will stay at 0, or maybe like 5 people saw it and that's it. And it's like, you know, and then the next video you post starts getting, even though there's nothing in it to, you know, even if I'm not shirtless, the next video I'll post will get like no views as well. So you start kind of getting shadow banned in this area where they're not pushing your content out because you did something shirtless or something like that.
Like a punishment. Well, that's awesome, man. Thanks for explaining. I wanted to talk about a couple different things real quick before we wrap up this great interview. But thank you again for doing this for me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me anytime.
So you and I got into a little bit of an online quarrel.
We did. We got into an online beef.
Maybe about a year ago.
Yeah.
Because you posted something, and we don't need to get into the details, but then we had a back and forth.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, like I don't know about you. I didn't really think much about it, but I was like, I wonder if his band is going to be playing Fest. And then sure enough, your band was playing Fest and we were playing Fest. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I don't like know anything about this guy. So like, and I'm not a fighter or a violent person, nor am I aggressive at all. And so I was at 8 Seconds with our mutual friend, Gabe.
Yeah.
Who used to be in Spanish Love Songs. And for those of you that know Gabe, he's the biggest sweetheart.
Right.
And he's a big guy. He's real tall. And I went and like tapped him on the shoulder, which is essentially like Bobby Heenan tapping Andre the Giant on the shoulder. Like,
right. Yeah.
Like, totally. And I was gonna buy him. You know, I was like asking him if he wanted a beer, and he like turned around and I saw you, and I was like, hey man, like, you know, cool. Like my first thought was, this guy is as short as me. Like, no wonder I didn't see him, like, you know, on the other side of Gabe, because Gabe's
totally.
So tall.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you were like, hey man, like we got into a fight on the internet or something. And I was like, who is this guy? And then it dawned on me, and I was like, oh yeah, That's cool. You know, and we just like, as soon as we like kind of looked at each other, we both kind of smiled, and it was like,
Yeah,
oh. And then like you had a Bouncing Souls necklace or something, and
yeah.
I showed you the tattoo, and we squashed it. It was really funny, but yeah, that was kind of my mindset. I was like, oh, there's like another, like Gabe has another really short friend, and it was like I did not see this guy at all.
Well, it was funny because like, when all that shit was going down on like my Facebook, which is like one of those things where it's like, I don't really ever like post shit to start shit. So like I I posted like the whole like situation or whatever, like the story. And then I remember like when me and you got into it, like, and I like was like typing like my response to you, and I was like, man, this dude Jeff doesn't know me, and he's gonna like I was like he's not gonna know like my personality or know that like I'm just like busting balls. And it was one of those things like in my head, I was like, he's not gonna know, but like, should I do it anyway? And like everything in my head was like, nah, dude, don't do it.
Yeah,
And
and
I
I
was
don't know
like,
if other people experience this on Facebook, but like when you're in the mode of doing DIY tours, you end up with so many friends that you have no, by the end of it, like you have no idea who the fuck they are, how you
yeah,
know them.
yeah,
You just end up
totally,
with
totally.
random people, seemingly random people in your feed, which I
Oh
guess is
yeah.
what happened with us. Like,
And that's the thing is there's so many people who friend request me where I see there's mutuals and I don't want to be a dick by like not accepting. So I'll accept it if we have mutuals. If you don't have any mutuals with me or you have like two, I'll be a bit more skeptical about it. But for the most part, I'll accept it. But I remember like
well, we had become friends on Facebook without ever having met. Like,
right,
I think I
exactly,
met
exactly.
Daniel before, maybe
Right.
at like Plow and Star or something, but I had not
Yeah,
met you or your other bandmates. Yeah.
right. And that was one of the things where I was like, this dude Jeff is not gonna know my personality or know like I'm busting balls. So I posted and like I immediately got a text from Gabe and he was like, "You play too much, dude." And I was like, "Why? What?" And I can't believe some of the shit that you just pull off or you just do. And like I was like laughing, I was dying, and like he was like, "You guys got beef now?" I was like, "I guess we're gonna duke it out at Fest." And I just kind of like kept
Oh shit! You
like
said that to
joking
Gabe?
around.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So then Gabe was like, I'm gonna introduce both of you guys at Fest. I was like, I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. And there was one of those things where it's just like, for me, like I just don't care. So it's like one of those things like if we were to like confront each other and let's say like you were completely like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want to tell you in person how much of an asshole I think you are. I would like for some reason I fully welcome that. Like I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
let's do it. And
I
also,
think
can we
yeah.
film it?
I think what I said was like I was like because you were like yeah I said some really shitty things to you on the internet and I was like yeah like I don't hate you like it makes more sense for us to be friends and I
Yeah,
don't really
totally.
believe in having enemies
Yeah.
unless you're the president but like I don't um, I think I remember saying like yeah like you said shitty things but like I'm not gonna hold that against you forever
Right,
like I
right,
you
right.
know
It's such a
and I
stupid
appreciated
thing to hold
the
against.
apology the apology was mutual as well and I apologize so I'm glad that we got a funny story about Gabe um, I was having yeah, I was having an issue with somebody else that I'm not going to name the person because it's been whatever but it wasn't nearly it didn't use the language that you and I used towards
Sure.
it was much
Sure.
more PG
Yeah.
but it was just something in more of a business setting and Gabe and I both know this person so I sent Gabe like essentially the draft I was like hey man like can you read this like I'm not sure if I should send this and whatever and he's like yeah and he responded and he's like yeah it's good like maybe you want to wait a few days to like send it. And I was like, sure, because everyone's going through different shit in this quarantine or whatever. And, it was just like something that had been bugging me. So um, the next day I get a response from the person that the letter was about.
Right.
The draft that I didn't send, that I sent to Gabe instead to be like, make sure it's cool.
Yeah.
Gabe, I guess he doesn't like conflict. He's such a teddy bear.
Oh,
He
he
sent it
hates
to
it.
the person. And so I got a response back from the person that was like, yeah, man, like, we're all good. There was no issue. Like, it might have been some oversight on my part, but I apologize. Like, we're all good. And I was like, okay, I'm relieved. Um, you know. And then they also said like, I wish you would have just came to me. And I was like, I didn't tell Gabe to
That
send
is
this.
amazing. That is so good.
Yeah. So I think in that setting, Gabe was just he just doesn't like conflict. He's too good of a guy. He doesn't like conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, he really doesn't, which is like great. Like, I mean, it's like, who could ever, like, the first time I ever met Gabe was like, we played this show together in Chicago with Spanish love songs. And like within 10 minutes, I was like, yo, we're like best friends now, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just the best.
Yeah. It was the same. I remember the first few times that I played with them out here, um, when it was in front of, the usual 10 or 15 people
Yeah.
in LA or Riverside or wherever. And I was talking to them, and then like as the night would go on, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm still talking to this guy. The others not so much, but I'm still
Yeah.
talking to Gabe."
It's just like, he's like a magnet, dude. Like people
Yeah.
just love him. He's great.
He's kind of like the Godfather, but he's instead of like pulling like all these violent tricks, he's just like squashing beefs and like sending draft emails to the people that they're meant to go for. Yeah. Oh man. Well, thanks a million for joining me on here. I hope that you
Absolutely,
and your
man.
family are doing well during this.
Thanks, you
So
too.
I'm still in Los Angeles. I'm in the process of moving to the East Coast. But where are you? You're in Watertown?
Watertown, Mass. Yeah, it's right next to, it's like 10 minutes outside of Boston.
Yeah, yeah. But you're good. You're able to handle this all right, considering.
I got good days and bad days, but I got plenty of things to make music with and plenty of things to learn. So it's kind of like I'm keeping myself occupied. So,
Yeah, man.
that's all I really can do, and just hope that like, you know, people keep being smart about this, and hope that one day we can get in a room and play music again when it's safe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, best of luck to you and your family and everyone in the Rebuilder circle.
Thanks,
Um,
man. I'm
check
I'm
out.
glad you're doing this. I think it's cool.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for the inspiration and
Absolutely. Anytime.
yeah. I'm glad when I sent you that email that I was like, I'm gonna kind of rip off your idea, but I'm gonna not just do music. I'm gonna do some politics and some journalism. You weren't like, oh man.
No.
You didn't send an email to Gabe being like, hey man, this kind of upset me. Let me know what you think of this email.
What I should have done was just send you a formal cease and desist letter from the biz.
That'd be great. That'd be so good. Well, if I land Frank Turner for the Berman Hour, like you landed him for the Biz, then yeah, we should
Yeah, totally.
kickstart the beef back up. Awesome, man. Well, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks everyone for tuning into the Berman Hour. Tomorrow I have. Do you know Brian Marquis as well?
Oh, Brian's great. Isn't Brian tour manager for Billie Eilish,
Yeah.
right?
So I have
Yeah.
the Brian Marquis tomorrow. We might talk about Billie Eilish stuff. We might just talk about chicken wings for 20
He's
minutes.
great. I love that man.
Thanks all very much for tuning in. See you later.